So I was saying about the Magic Mirror collections. You got Snow White, Alice in Wonderland. However, this copy doesn't have Darling Gillespie doing the narrating or anything. It has Jenny Tyler as Alice, and she does a great Alice. But still, Darling Gillespie's singing is on here. Peter Pan, featuring the songs from the movie soundtrack, and Jenny Tyler once again being the Disneyland story reader. And Cinderella, I have that somewhere. But if we could jump ahead back to around 1980, just do that a little. Now, with the new staffing of Disneyland Records, they decided to redo and reissue the Storyteller line. So they started off with Pinocchio and then Snow White. Now these feature what I really like to call scripts. These are like the read along. You can read along to the story. It's almost like a screenplay or a script. These are under the Yellow Rainbow label. What's really interesting though, Snow White and Pinocchio, these releases, both feature dialogue and music from the original motion picture soundtrack, direct from the soundtrack. And this was Pinocchio was narrated by Jiminy Cricket, but Snow White was narrated by Hal Smith, who did many voices back in the 50s, including Goliath from Davy and Goliath. Now, Cinderella and Bambi, unfortunately, did not have the original dialogue from the movie soundtrack, but from the movie soundtrack, excuse me. However, they did have actors who did most of the little Storyteller book and record sets, who did the voices of Cinderella and Bambi. Now, let's jump ahead back to 1972, and we've got the Newsday Review featuring Douglas and Emmy Jo, and we have our three animal friends, Henrietta Hippo, very wise and very smart, Charlie the Owl, lots of fun and lots of heart as Freddy the Frog, elegant and whatnot. Here we are. The Newsday Review. I grew up watching the show back in reruns back in the early 80s, growing up. And you got a wonderful booklet here. I actually have a non-gatefold album. This contains all the songs, but these are the stories. 2 stories featuring school and art. There you are. You have the gang all here in an art contest. You have Henrietta Hippo doing a pop art with a it looks like a Campbell's soup can. Douglas does a spot, and I don't know what Charlie's doing, a paperweight. And last but not least, a Mount Rushmore version of our 3 friends, and Charlie takes first prize. Anyway, this album features the theme song and many songs that I believe were from the TV show. My favorite song on side 2, I have 2 favorites. Colors, sung by Henrietta Hippo and Charlie the Owl. And Freddy the Frog. And everyone gets together in the song in the arts. There we go. It's from 1972 and it's stereophonic. Now we go to theme park attractions, Walt Disney World's The Hall of Presidents. This is the original 1972 version. Features all the presidents up to Richard M. Nixon. And again, it's in stereo under the and it's released with the purple rainbow label. And the show itself is really good. You got a lot of widescreen paintings here. Everything from the Whiskey Rebellion to the Douglas and Lincoln debates, the Great Civil War years, and finally you have a full-length anamorphic, as we would as you would say, anamorphic photograph of all the presidents. This is circa 1972. And the really nice thing I like about this last page, you have the entire speech Abraham Lincoln recites. And coincidentally, Disneyland Records, or Buena Vista Records rather, released the Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln album with this. Well, it's basically the same speech, but a few little extra things. Now we honor the mouse, Mickey Mouse, that is. Mickey Mouse, This Is My Life, released in 1971. This is about the same year Walt Disney World opened. This album is really cool. Side 1 features a story about Mickey's life, starting from Steamboat Willie, the very first sound animated feature. Minnie's Yoo-Hoo, which was later featured on the Mouse Factory album. The Sorcerer's Apprentice from Fantasia. You go to side, if I can get to that page, and that's not what I want you to see, but this is the Mickey Mouse Review, which was at Walt Disney World. I didn't see it, but you can actually see it online here on YouTube, the Tokyo Disneyland version. And before I skipped a few pages, the Mickey Mouse Club, which was premiered in 1955, the same year Disneyland Park opened, which as of today, well, Mickey Mouse still hosts the Magic Kingdom parks all over the world, including the newest theme park in Hong Kong. There we go. This is a later issue, and it's released under the Rainbow label. If I could read the dead wax here, this was produced in 1981. And get it close up here. Whoa, must have covered a lot of ground here. And here's I've got about 3 copies of this album, the Mickey Mouse Club Song Hits album, featuring the original 1955 Mouseketeers, Annette, Jimmy Dodd, Bobby Burgess, Darlene Gillespie, Karen Cubby, Roy Williams, everybody. It's released under the Red label, which was probably one of the last few issues. The album, the album I have has a different type. Anyhow, it has a 16-page book of autographs and black and white photographs of the Mouseketeers. This was before they started the 1977 Mickey Mouse Club, which I really thought was really cool. I've seen the few episodes I have on DVD and VHS tape. Now we go on to the educational portion of my collection. The Story of California, released in 1966. Unfortunately, it was the same year Walt Disney passed away and left the world. This was cool. I bought this on eBay a few years back. It tells you the history of California, how gold was discovered. And it's got artwork by Neil Boyle, who went on to do many Disney Storyteller albums. And the final page makes mention of Disneyland. It's what we called product placement, so to speak. And it's got a map, circa 1966, of all the exciting cities and points of interest of California. Heel Hauser, Eat Your Heart Out. There you are. I Love You California was the state song. And there's our seal and State of Heart.